Well, for Volkswagen itself, this is an important move. They've long been in this kind of segment, in the smaller city car segment. They need to have an electric offering in this part of the market, and they need to make these investments. They've got a bit of catching up to do in some respects against some of their competitors. So for them, big move. For the industry also, this is also a significant move because it signals that there's a massive gap in the market at the moment not being filled by electric cars in this kind of urban small vehicle segment.
I mean, the truth is the battle to produce an affordable small electric car is one that many car makers really are finding rather hard to win. I mean, I wonder, is victory now in sight on the horizon for Volkswagen with this?
Well, it would be if they could bring this car in at about half the price they're proposing. I think that's the scale of the challenge. If you look at a typical urban petrol diesel car, a small car, it's about 12,000 to 14,000 euros per car. This car is going to be twice that price. So somehow this industry has to bridge the gap and get products into that kind of segment at that kind of price. At the moment, this is a fairly generous definition of affordable.
How difficult is it for Volkswagen to catch up with companies like Tesla and BYD?
Well, Tesla, in a way, are in a world of their own. They're certainly not in these kind of segments. BYD and other Chinese manufacturers are much more of a challenge because they have that lower manufacturing cost base, and also they're much more attuned to working in these urban segments, the smaller car segments, and being able to do so profitably. So I think for Volkswagen, they need to do this, and they need to do it very quickly because otherwise they will be left behind forever. And so this is very much a do-or-die moment for the group.
We had the boss of Mercedes on the show a couple of weeks ago, basically abandoning the lower end of their range because profits are to be found in expensive cars. And it's difficult, isn't it, making big profits with small cars?
Well, yes, but also not everybody can do this. If all vehicle manufacturers attempt to retreat to the top end of the market, there is simply not enough demand at that end of the market to support them all. So it's not going to be a solution for everybody in this industry. And I think that's the trouble, you know, for Mercedes and for indeed any of the other European producers. They can't keep moving up market because there's simply not enough of a demand out there to support enough of those kind of vehicles to make it work. So retreating in that way, okay, for Mercedes, they might get away with it, but for most of the European manufacturers, I don't think that's the solution.
You've highlighted a lot of the problems here, and you've pointed out the expense. How do you make EVs genuinely affordable for the masses? What do you do, and who's going to do it?
Well, I think, first of all, you've got to design vehicles in a way that fits the kind of purposes to which they're mostly put in these smaller car segments. In other words, you know, if you look at something like the ID.2, it's got a range of 300 kilometers. Well, to make a much smaller range vehicle, then you have a smaller battery pack, then you have a much lower cost proposition. So that's the first step. Secondly, of course, as Volkswagen knows, you need scale. So you have to have enough of a volume of product in enough markets to really make this work. And thirdly, you've really got to look at that manufacturing cost throughout the supply chain, not just when you build the car, but when it's in use and when it comes to being recycled. So you need to put in place a kind of ecosystem, as they say, for all of those parts of the value cycle in order to really have a long-term profitable business.